Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, dear friends, fellow speakers, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure and privilege to be an integral part of the interesting combination of topics and the best of the speakers we could line up. Yesterday we had a mind-boggling session, I should say, on the digital acceleration, exponential change. It was very well responded. Again, our partners right from Microsoft, Dell, Oracle, Ernst & Young, Intellect, they were all there to put their thought leadership in substance. And today, we have a more important subject. I say more important because I'm going to show you a clip in a minute. CNBC recently asked, the global financial media asked the top 5 chief executives of banks, financial institutions in the US. Tell us about your single most risk, which you're concerned in the current context. They all said, without any second thought, it is cyber risk. The importance I'm trying to advocate. We live in a changing world. Extraordinary set of changes and challenges are happening. As we speak, over 29 million people are impacted COVID positive. We have lost nearly 900,000 people. The economic governance, social governance, human governance, environmental governance are all at stake. Every country engaged in this warfare is trying to improve the liquidity so that it doesn't penetrate into a funding or solvency or sovereign issue at a later date. We have learned lessons out of the financial crisis in 2008. The governance has been prolific in terms of mapping from G7 to G8, G8 to G20, and comprehensive financial stability board was brought in and capital adequacy rules have changed. The risk integration framework has changed. And essentially, the governance framework has been reinforced with absolute trust, transparency, and truth. That's the level of transformation we have seen. But what we are witnessing now, hitherto, has not been seen. This is a complete paralysis in the global map. Extraordinary set of challenges. When you have paralysis, first you have to sort out the disaster. And then you have to move into the continuity, business continuity we have to frame. And that's precisely happening in global terms. Qatar has withstood this challenge. We have seen over 25% of the population has been tested. 205 people lost their lives, but still it is measured, managed, and controlled. In terms of human governance, healthcare, rightly handled. The financial stability is always there. Many of you, having witnessed yesterday's dialogues and conversations, have raised a lot of questions. I don't have time to answer all the questions. Some of the questions I have to answer to you. Some of you have asked me very clearly, what is the Qatar's overall financial stability in this crisis? Qatar is a country of great substance and substantive compliance. We have a contraction in the global map. We all know the global contraction is not less than 4.9% according to IMF if there is no second wave of attack. Advanced economies are grossly underperforming to the tune of nearly 8%. Developing economies, so-called emerging markets, are going to perform in contraction to the tune of 3%. Qatar is going to be down by 5 to 7% with a fiscal and current account deficit, no question. But underpinning economics of Qatar is what you need to know to answer your question. We have a GDP still in the current context, looking at the oil price, and LNG pricing is linked to oil index. We should be producing between 180 to 185 billion dollars. Our gross debt to GDP is measurable, 52.5%. Our reserves, the central bank cash, is nearly $55 billion. Plus, the external assets which we have invested on account of the investable surplus, what you call sovereign funds, is to the tune of $370 billion. All put together gives a resounding stability in terms of economics. Don't worry about it. In terms of hydrocarbon, some of you have asked me this question. We are going to move in the right direction. We are moving from 77 to 110 by 2025. By 2027, we are going to have 127 million metric ton of LNG. So definitely there is a sustainable revenue generation. The diversification and the distribution strategy Qatar has embarked has worked, and it will continue to work. With the changing dynamics in terms of sustainable value chain, in terms of the energy mix, carbon neutral society is aimed at, and LNG plays a big role. Especially incremental growth comes from the emerging markets, and we are going to have definite consumptions tying up. Be rest assured. Our non-hydrocarbon growth, the airport, seaport, road, rail, are all grooming well. We have 2022 rightly outlined, and be rest assured this will be a first of its kind in the Arab world, and it will be the best in terms of showcasing a football event. No question. The preparatory process and the commitment which Qatar has demonstrated has been well witnessed by global pundits. We are also seeing the changing business dynamics. The business reforms have taken place. Of late, extraordinary set of measures have been taken. Some of you have asked me this question yesterday, which I couldn't answer. Our business reforms includes real estate for expatriates. Foreigners can invest. There are designated locations. We have seen the reflection in terms of business incubation. We are creating free zones, well responded, over 3 billion commitment. And we also seen SMEs are mushrooming now. There are many companies are coming up. Qatar government has put in nearly 75 billion Qatari riyal, equivalent to $20.5 billion, to stimulate the economy and align fiscal and monetary policy even during this pandemic. Please be rest assured. So business climate is getting reformed. Public-private partnership law has been pronounced. So plenty of reasons to believe that we can be cautiously optimistic with the changing dynamics. And that's what I want to submit. Some of you have asked me questions relating to the various speakers yesterday presenting subjects like digital disruptions, digital platforms, and again, navigating through the digital disruptions. I'll be in a position to send you the right answers once I receive it from the respective speakers in the coming days. Now, moving to today's context, very important subjects which we are all enlightened. In recognizing this is a very important subject we need to deliberate. Now, I also have been proud of the alignment today in terms of the speakers. Omar Shireen has come from technology practice from Ernst & Young. Sheikh Ahmed, my good friend, Ahmed, the CEO of Vodafone, our partner. Since inceptions, we have been building the bilateral partnership. We are going to strengthen in the coming days. Mr. Lee Fell, Senior Executive Partner, Gartner. Mr. Ala Ajwa, Global Account Manager, Financial Service from Microsoft. Mr. Abhik Goswami, Doha Bank Chief Risk Officer. And Mr. Ravi Baldev, Dell EMC, are all lined up to give you their wisdom. The speed of wisdom, as you call it as. That's the essence of it. But I have to show you, I have to set the tone for them to elucidate further. And that's the purpose of my submission for the next 7 minutes. Here is my presentation. The cybersecurity awareness, if you look at it in tandem, this is a changing face of the world. We are all understanding the dynamics of the change. Cyber risk is most important risk. We have seen Fairfax, JP Morgan, Uber, eBay are all paying a heavy price to it, including Yahoo, paid $3 billion 7 years ago. We have seen major breaches in database, Facebook, and again, Google Plus, Sing Health, British Airways, name a few. So we have enough reasons to worry about it, think about it, how to fix it. So here is a simple clip. It is not only technology people who are watching. There are a lot of non-technical people, users, consumers are watching this. Ministry of Interior, they have come out with a very simple clip. Here is the showcase.
Everything you share to the outside world has potential risks. Be aware and careful while using your online accounts. Protect yourself wisely. Be sure to keep your devices updated safely. Think twice before clicking send. And know who you're accepting from before proceeding. The person on the other side of your device could be someone malicious. Remember, everything shared is shared with everyone.
Remember, everything shared is shared with everyone. That's what a catch, what a phrase. Now, the thing we have to worry about is state of cybersecurity, the impact on the artificial intelligence, impact on the supply chain collaboration, threat to public cloud from malware. We have to think about it. Political disruptions, we have seen examples. In the Gulf itself, in 2019, last year, we had 5.5 million incident malware attacks. Qatar has endured nearly 440,000 cases. So we have to be concerned about it, and that's precisely the reason the next clip.
What have you heard today that has stood out for you, not so much as a piece of political theater, which we can, I think, all agree this is, but insofar it would affect your view of these companies' shares, if anything?
Yeah, no, I think it was most interesting to us is, during the testimony, on a couple instances, the CEOs were asked kind of what do they think the biggest risks to the system are, and almost uniformly, they cited cyber risk. They cited slowing global growth, particularly China, and they talked to just the growth in the shadow banking system, particularly around leverage lending and student lending. So clearly those areas we're focused on, and obviously continue to focus on as being risks to the stocks. Yeah, it really was almost unanimous when they were asked about the biggest risks. So many of them, in fact, let's see here. I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 of them said cyber. Is that how you would see the biggest risk? It is. It's certainly, higher on our list. I think it's one of those things that's obviously a newer risk. something difficult to quantify. These banks are attacked on a daily basis and have to continue to defend themselves and have done a good job in that arena. But obviously, it's something that continues to evolve, and you have to pay attention to.
Absolutely. Cyber risk, one of the key risks for banks, no question. So technology impacting financial service is what we need to understand. Advanced robotics and robotic intelligence. A digital service is vital. You cannot, that's the transformation. The one thing is very clear. The COVID-19 has transformed everything. Transforming, it will continue to. It's good for sustainability in long term, eradication of extreme poverty or food security, gender equality, universal education, universal healthcare, name it. Global warming and climate change. As I said, the less and less carbon emission is good for the world. Carbon neutral society, when we aim at, we have to have the fine mix of energy. And that's what we need to advocate. Even bureaucracy can be minimized. Disputes, peace, justice, and action in truth. And that's what we want to establish by digital advantage. So you need digital services, which is vital. We also have to use technology to build robust business models. We have to thrust has to be given on the cyber risk. And that is precisely the message. And here is a clip.
What we're looking at in 2020 are 5 top-level themes. The first one is AI and adversaries using AI against us. Defenders are using machine learning and AI, and the adversaries have figured out that they can take advantage of these technologies too. The second one is the supply chain, especially the software supply chain. Many organizations use libraries and snippets of codes and functions and other components within their development. So it's really important that you make sure that you trust the integrity of those components. The public cloud becoming a security imperative. The threat intelligence and the cloud wisdom can mean that a piece of malware detected in one part of the world can go up to the cloud and the signal can be spread to all different devices around the globe within minutes. So that speed of wisdom is very critical for protection. Zero trust architectures and supporting the identity as the new control plane, like passwordless technology, so people don't need to remember very long, difficult passwords. And then, unfortunately, nation-state attacks and political disruption of campaigns. That we've seen some success in different parts of the globe with those kinds of attacks, and so we are looking at attackers continuing to up the ante going forward.
That's a beautiful summary from Microsoft, our partner again. Thanks, Ella. So what is impacting is not only financial, legal, the brand equity. And that's the message we have to read. We have seen Twitter attacks. We don't need to elucidate further because I'm going to skip this on account of time. But we have seen how
in financial services, there's certainly a heightened awareness around cyber attacks and threats due to all of the incredibly rich data that organizations like yours have. That's why we're driving innovations and developments that really help our clients address some critical needs in the area of cybersecurity. First and foremost, it's recognizing that as our industry moves towards more digital experiences, that's more potential points of compromise. Every point of origination, every point of transaction, every point of experience. Secondly, it means understanding that increasingly the risk of a cyber attack or breach isn't coming in your front door, it's coming in through a side door, the relationships that you have with other providers. So providing solutions to our clients that help them really manage and assess that vendor risk in real time and in a meaningful way.
That's what it is. Assess the risk in real time. We're also seeing Cambridge Analytica have exploited the Facebook data of millions, 87 million. That's the database impacted. We have seen the continuing arguments, contentious arguments in terms of political disruptions. So these are some of the stray instances, but it is enormous in terms of impact in the days to come. And that's what we need to be cautious. You build your business model, transform in terms of digital advantage, but be cautious and making sure that you build your continuing education. And that is a very purpose of today's submissions.